So it is now 5 o'clock, Mr. Chairman. I will just make a general announcement that as you noticed in Zoom when you came in, and for the benefit of the people in the room, the meeting is being recorded. Per the governor's emergency powers and declaration, we are supposed to take any votes taken in this meeting should be by roll call. And I think that about covers us for the moment. So this is a hybrid meeting, both on Zoom and in person in City Hall in room 319. So
it's 1700 hours, and this is Tucker Braddock. I'd like to call the Harbor Management Commission meeting to order. And we do have, in checking the numbers, we do have a quorum. And I'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes, and they will be approved for 7/27/21, the meeting of
in September.
The last meeting we had to cancel out. We did not have a quorum, but if we could have the an approval of those minutes.
So moved.
All right, have a second?
Second.
By Mike Gualtieri.
All those in favor?
Roll call. So I'll go first myself. Mark Sacuso.
Yes.
Mike Gualtieri.
Yes.
Tucker Braddock.
Yes.
And then on Zoom, we have John Salamone
Yes.
and Michael Aliano.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Unanimous. The community policing report. Do we have a community policing report? And no one from the police department to report to us, so we're not going to have that. Under correspondence, we have a financial. Michael Gualtieri will talk with us about the finances of our Harbor Management Commission, please. Thank you.
We began a new fiscal year on July 1st, 2021. And to date, we have the transfer in from the general fund of $7,000 revenue. We have an expense for the month of August, which is our half of the data line for the harbor camera, $75.40. So we have year-to-date expenses of $150.80. And net income or loss for the new fiscal year, $6,849.20. And our balance currently available is $21,781.51, of which $5,720.32 is restricted for the harbor management plan, which leaves unrestricted available funds of $16,061.19.
Motion to accept the report as presented
Accept as read.
by myself, Mark Betancourt, second by Mark Sacuso.
All those in favor? Aye.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Tucker Braddock.
Aye.
Mark Sacuso.
Yes.
Mike Gualtieri.
Yes.
Myself, Mark Betancourt, yes. Michael Aliano.
Yes.
John Salamone.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Okay, moving down to the next section is the Harbor Masters report. I think that Rich Thayer is away on vacation, so he won't be reporting to us at this particular meeting. Going down to 7, new business. I'd like to have a motion to, or conversation anyway. Rich Thayer has been working as a harbor master. I think he's been doing a very good job of it. He thinks about what has to happen on the harbor, and his time is up. It's a government appointment. And does anyone have any comments, any suggestions as to who we might put on that position? When he was put on,
I don't know anyone else that would.
yeah,
Put on.
he's familiar with the rivers. He's familiar with the harbor. I understand he's been on there for 40 years. He has a boat, and he takes a pretty responsible position in looking over the harbor. And if there's no objection, I'd like to put forth Rich Thayer's name to governor of Connecticut to be renewed going forward.
Perfect guy as far as I'm concerned.
Jeff Stedman,
Just on that point, we've been talking with the governor's deputy counsel, who has been very helpful with the other harbor management commissions. So he in effect is sort of supervising the harbor masters. And I believe that what the statute now calls for, has called for, you have to submit 3 names to the governor. But I believe now that you only need to submit 1 if it's a reappointment. So I don't think you need to look for the other 2 names to include. And I have the name of the appointments secretary who the request would go to the governor in care of Ms. Donnell. But I think all you have to do is put in 1 name and the reason why you're recommending his reappointment.
I've been in contact with the governor's office, and someone was going to get back with me last week, but did not. I don't recognize that name, Jeff.
Yeah, the governor's deputy counsel is a fellow named Doug Delina, who's a very, very good guy. And the woman who would be handling the letter would go to is Janice Denal. I can send those addresses to you, Tucker, with the email addresses.
Jeff, that would be very kind. Thank you. Okay, so have a motion to nominate.
I mean, is that the Harbor Commission's place to make that nomination, or is
We're
it?
going to make it to.
Yes, the statute.
Because I mean, we're appointed by the city manager, so I was just wondering if. Go ahead. Go ahead, Jeff.
The statute is very specific, Mark, that the appointment has to come from a list of names provided by the Harbor Management Commission in those towns where there is a
Works
harbor
for me.
management plan.
That's fine. Not a problem. Didn't know. Thank you, Jeff.
I can send the reference to the statute too.
Make a motion to recommend.
Your word's good for me.
Thayer for reappointment. Second.
All those in
The
favor?
motion is by Michael Gualtieri. The second is by Mark Sacuso.
Roll call.
And roll call, right? Tucker Braddock,
Yes.
Mark Sacuso,
Yes.
Mike Gualtieri.
Yes.
Myself is Mark Betancourt is a yes. Mike Galaliano,
Yes.
John Salamone.
Could you hear me?
Yes, I heard you, Mike. John Salamone, sorry.
Yes,
Yes?
yes,
If it's a yes, John, raise your hand because you want kind of, okay, yes, okay, we got you, because you want a
I
little,
saw that.
there you go.
Okay.
All right,
So this will go to the governor, and I'm sure that he will send some confirmation back to that. Under new, let's go down to the next section, which is old business. And I'm sure, as we all have seen, the mural in front of Norwich Police Department has been completed. David Bishop has worked on it for, I believe, 43 days, and spent considerable amount of money on his own. Purchased 8 gallons of paint, a couple of quarts, many scrapers, many brushes. But the important thing that he wanted to bring out was to bring that mural back to the intent of which it was in 1969 when Ron Aliano funded it, and Nancy Maureen designed it. And I think he's done an exceptional job. If you haven't seen it, it's worth taking a drive down by the marina and looking at it. He's done a really,
looks good. Yeah.
really fine job. And
Does look
which
good.
brings up a point of how we might be able to recognize this so that other people, there was a comment about putting his name and the names, the founder and the designer, right on the mural itself, but then no one could see it. So then the comment came up about maybe from Howard Brown Park or from the marina itself. And I've called Richard Joyelle, I've had a conversation with his receptionist, and no response back from Richard, asking permission that we put up a pedestal with a, initially it came out as a plaque, but I think there may be a better way of doing it, and that's through a kind of a storyboard So if people want to look at it, they'll understand what it's really all about versus just a series of names and then not knowing what the names are. So a storyboard like what we're seeing in Chelsea Parade and at the along the Heritage Trail and
Mohegan Park.
Mohegan Park, various places in our community that tell a story of how this thing started and the importance of it all. And that will enhance our tourism destination commitment. So and I'm certainly open to any suggestions planning what we can do and how we can do it as far as recognition.
Go ahead, Mike.
Tucker, it's Michael Aliano. Two things. What year did you say, Tucker? I heard 1969. 69?
Yep.
Might have been a little later than that, don't you think?
No,
Mike?
it was much later than that, Tucker. My dad didn't come to town till 72, and that wall wasn't done until the 90s.
Well,
The mural?
Yeah, the Welcome to Norwich wall wasn't. Well, the police department wasn't even built until I think the 70s. But nonetheless, I just don't want the wrong date going down on any. I just don't want anything to go on the storyboard that isn't accurate.
Yeah.
And if regarding the Joyelles, I'm in almost daily contact with them. If you want me to ask them, however, it may be something better seen at Brown Park, just as a suggestion.
I think so. I agree.
okay.
Just a suggestion. There's a plaque there dedicated to my father. I wouldn't see any issue if there was something right in that area with that. But just
Jeff
a suggestion.
Okay. No, it's a good one.
That's a good one.
Jeff Stedman.
I think that would be a good suggestion, and we could put together, you know, that out, they call it wayside signs, like we have on the fish of the harbor and the history, but it wouldn't have to be the same size. It could be a smaller size, again, on pedestals that would go into the ground. The same sort of material as we did for the other ones, and put it right next to the plaque for Ron on the ground, and people could be looking across when they see it.
Yep.
And we, Michael, we have, I can go back and look when that mural was first painted, because we had the design, you know, plans, and yeah, so that won't be a problem finding the date when that was.
And I agree with Michael. It should be a very definitive date, and we can research that further to have the definitive date. I've been in touch with Public Works about it, and I think John Solomon's out window it in his office as a city manager.
And Tucker, you know that there's some review committee for plaques or monuments.
Plaques.
You gotta go through.
There's a committee.
Yeah,
Yeah.
goes through Public Works.
Sure. Yeah. I do understand that. Yeah.
What is this you're giving?
It's when I looked at the opportunity to do it. There was I thought I had the actual amendment.
No. Oh, this is
$20,000
property.
$5,000. Well, we can research.
Condemnation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not really. That's the first page of the journal. All right.
Okay. So
Good idea.
I think that I think it's a good idea, and we can mull it over for the next month, which will be then in October, and make a definitive decision as to what we'd like to do. He's put in a great deal of time and energies doing it. He's climbed off the side of the police station with a 16-foot ladder and worked most of the time in the air. And it's a labor of love for him. He's not asking for anything, but I think just recognizing him as a good volunteer, wonderful volunteer for the city of Norwich. That's all.
I'm good.
Okay.
Tucker,
Okay.
Hang on, John
Michael
Salomon.
Aliano again. But
Hang
why-
on, Mike. Hang on, Mike. John Salomon.
I think we should reimburse him for the paint at least, even though he doesn't want to ask for anything. He only spent 40 days of his own time doing it. Even though he's not asked for it, I think we should do that.
Yeah.
Reimburse him for his supplies. I'm sure it was a few $100s. that paint is pretty expensive.
When he first started, which was 3 or 4 years ago, he bought a couple of gallons of paint, and I asked him for receipts, and he said, that's not necessary, Tucker. But I counted up the amount of, it's 16 gallons of paint, and it very low cost is $20 a gallon, so
That's if it's cheap stuff.
that's, yeah, and he's done it, I think, he's not asking for anything, and he kind of pushed aside when I brought the subject up. But I think that would be the paint, I think that's something worth thinking about. And we can also discuss that at our very next meeting and see if we can solve that and what we're going to put there as recognition for the people involved.
Tucker, sometimes with folks like that, they won't take money, but if we buy them a gift certificate to a local restaurant or something, they gotta use it.
Okay, well, that's a thought. My thought is he's done other things in Norwich. He's done the Norwich Town Green sign.
Mhm,
He's totally redone that and out of his kick.
mhm.
And so I think he will continue with things like that. If he had the kick, maybe he would do more things. But he sees something that should be changed or brought a better presentation. That's what he's on. He did the
Yeah.
whale down in
New
down
London?
in London,
Hmm.
and it took him 6 months to do that. And he did not get a cent for that.
Yeah.
He just did it because
Yeah.
it should be done.
Yeah, good guy.
He's a good guy. And more than just an attaboy. Okay, so we'll bring that up at the next meeting. Going on
So
to,
who knows him here personally? I mean,
yeah,
could you approach him and see if,
yeah, I have had lots of conversations with David. And actually, a lot of the city has too. I know Jackie has, I know that John has, I know that,
so I don't want to push the guy,
Yeah,
I don't want to insult the guy, so by doing that.
Would be nice too, to extend an invitation, come to a meeting and present.
Yeah, how about, we should recognize him at a council meeting maybe if that's possible. We could do that.
we could do it, but proclamation, but it's a proclamation, it's there today and gone tomorrow.
Yeah, no,
It's just.
so's everything.
If
Go ahead,
I
Mike.
may,
Mike's turn.
So I've spoken to the man. He's amazing. I offered to pay him for the paint. He adamantly refused. Personally, I intend to get him a gift certificate for a couple local restaurants. But if, as a harbor management, we can authorize funds to give him even more, I think that certainly would be appreciated. But he just refuses to take money for the paint.
Well, if we could give him gift certificates to a couple of restaurants, it certainly, helps us with 2 other goals,
Yeah, I mean, that just makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So help some local businesses too.
We can think about that. All
All right, we'll chat about it next week.
He
next
did
month.
have a breakfast on your boat, Michael, and he talked a lot about that today. He really enjoyed that. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the Port Authority, and we now have a signed, the original signed copy that went back to the Port Authority. Initially went through to Peter's office, Mayor's office, and which would be, it's economic development. It's the right thing to do, but it's really should be executed by the city manager, which has been executed, and now it's back in the Port Authority. And as we speak, Bob, city purchasing Castronova is talking with Daco Keith Nielsen as to very specific sizes of the docks and what the dock should be made of. And we're just waiting for that information to come back, and then an RFP will be developed, and then we can go from there.
So in other words, we're developing the spec and then it'll go out for RFP.
That's correct. Right.
All right.
Okay. Let's see, down to the harbor management.
Hang on, Jeff Stedman, with his hand raised.
That's right.
On the Port Authority, just to interrupt for a second, Mr. Salvatore keeps telling us that the sooner that we can come up with proposals for additional projects to be funded, the better off we'll be. And he's asked other towns to do that too. So right now, they don't have a schedule for announcing the next round of grants. And if there's pressure put on them, if that's the right word, from towns with projects that they're ready to pursue, that will put pressure on the Port Authority to announce the next round of grants. So I think that's something that we had talked about. If we can come up with another project in the next month or two.
Don't we need some riprap work and stuff?
Yeah, we do. Jeff, would it be possible?
Try some sheet steel, you know?
Jeff, would it be possible for the Port Authority to
Don't laugh, man.
provide money? We have a sunken barge down on a sandy beach
Project 2.
on the Thames River. And I spoke with Deanna Rhodes a couple of days ago, and she gave me a number, and I ended up talking with a fellow in Australia about an oyster opportunity on the Thames River. And if we could clean out that beach, that sandy area, and get that barge out of there, we might have a better opportunity. I don't know if the Port Authority would extend its funds for that kind of a.
We can talk about that with him, but my first uninformed opinion would be no, because there are other sources of funds that could be used to remove that. Now, Deep has money.
Hazardous navigation now.
Yeah, Deep has money in a fund that's accrued from people who violate their regulatory program. And we're looking at that in several other towns to remove derelict structures. So I think that's something we can talk about it with the Port Authority, but I don't believe that's the sort of thing that they would fund, but I think Deep might. So I could pursue that with Deep and ask them about it. Regarding the harbor management plan, I have a call into Mr. Kozak, who's been reviewing what I've written. He didn't call me back today, but I can bring that up because I know the town of Greenwich is pursuing monies from that fund to remove derelict structures. So I don't know why it wouldn't apply here too.
Yeah.
But we can. If you don't mind, I'll ask about that.
I don't mind at all. I would be it would be very helpful if you did that, Jeff.
But I'll stop talking in a minute, but we had talked about maybe having an on-site meeting to discuss the priorities that we've written about in chapter 6 and see which ones we might be able to seek funding for. And Mr. Salvatore said he'd be willing. He's, for example, willing to come to Stamford to discuss a project that the city of Stamford is thinking about. I don't know why we couldn't ask him to come up to Norwich if we have a specific location. And we had talked about the rowing, doing something to facilitate the development of a rowing facility on the river. And so if we could find a property that the city controls, he told us that would be something that they could fund, the docks and the online facility or on land facilities. So he keeps saying that the sooner we have other projects, the better off we'll be.
I totally agree. So if we're going to have an on-site visit, then we should be doing it pretty soon because it's going to be cold in the water.
Yeah.
Oh, we need something to show them.
Yeah,
We need something to show them. Again, one discussion, I don't know if we want to bring this up in the meeting, tell me not to, but the city-owned property on Hollyhock Island, if some of that, I know that there's lease agreements, that are in place, but if the city could have some sort of control over some of that property on the east side, that would be a possible place for the development of a rowing facility. But the city would have to control, we'd have to be able to control the property that we would show him.
Right. I don't think that.
Which east side, this is Michael Aliana, which east side property?
At the marina property, Michael, on the east side of the island, where the
The fenced in portion there?
pardon me?
Michael, I
that,
think,
that Rich used to use for
Michael, I
storage?
think he's
No,
talking
no,
about.
no, no,
property.
this is part of the marina property down,
Oh,
on the east side where there are some docks there. And there's like an overnight bed and breakfast type structure that Ron was thinking of pursuing, but
Yeah,
on that side.
it's not gonna happen now.
If we could not go down that road right now, it would be, there's a lot going on with that. It would be very, it would be problematic if we go down that road right now.
All right, well, that's the answer then.
Well, I'm not saying it's the answer. I'm just, that's my request. I've been working very hard on that right now, and any interjection could really foul things up.
I agree with you, Michael. So,
I'll tell them we're thinking of a project, and if we can come up with something or an idea in the next month or so, we'd like him to visit Norwich and take a look at it with us.
but your idea of an on-site visit, I think is a good idea. If we're also in the water in a boat, looking at the opportunities that may or may not be there, at least we have a consensus of what we want to focus some of that $9 million on. And there are some projects down there that are ready for some help.
So, perhaps Tucker, we could invite both Joe and the executive director, who I don't believe has been to Norwich.
Yeah, that would be good. That would be good. Anytime we get those people into Norwich and they can see where we'd like to go, it's great for us and it's great for them. I agree with you, Jeff.
Right.
Okay. So maybe you want to work on a couple of dates and I'll work on a boat.
Okay, I'll call Joe. I talked to Joe and told him we were going to discuss this today, and I'll call him back tomorrow.
Okay, great.
Tucker, you need a boat for what? For the on-site tour?
Yeah, I think a boat for the on-site tour, Michael, would be.
Well,
if-
you got a boat.
Okay.
That's all set.
Okay, thanks, Michael. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Very good.
Okay. That's great, Michael. Thank you.
Anytime.
Okay. Let's see. We're down to any other comments?
Oh, the harbor management plan, Tucker. I
Yeah,
interrupted.
that's where we are.
Yeah.
So
And
discuss-
Mark, I went over chapter 2 based on what was on the town website and in the city code. So I think I've got that okay. I'll send that to you.
Okay,
So Sophia had some comments on the policies, which were good comments. I mentioned this to Tucker, but I don't think it requires any significant modification of what we have. She wanted to emphasize the importance of environmental protection. And I said that right from the beginning, the harbor management plan, the emphasis had been on waterfront use and development and economic growth or reutilization of the waterfront. And that of course, we can't do that unless we protect the environment. So that we shouldn't change our priority goal, which is beneficial use of the waterfront, but I did that, just made reference that it depends on protection of the environment. And as I said, I called Mr. Kozak to see if I can have a time to discuss everything with him, because Deep needs to approve it. So that's where I am. I also looked the maps that we have, although it's very good resolution. They're older aerial photos. So if it's not too much trouble, I may switch, to 2018 or 2019. The vertical aerial photos, so no one says you used photos that are 10 years old. So I've been working on this, and I know we said we'd have it finished in September, but the goal now is October. And Deep is okay with everything. I'll make a time to talk with Mr. Kozak. But again, and Joe Salvatore also mentioned it. If we have our priorities or our projects, if there are 5 of them, say, or 4 of them, and we put those into the harbor management plan, that would be a help for us in seeking funding from the Port Authority. that we're pursuing money for projects that we've identified in the course of the harbor management update. So I think I'll call him tomorrow and see if we can set up a time for him to visit.
He and Andrew?
Not Andrew. What is the executive? Who is the executive director, Tucker? I forget his name.
John?
Yes, John.
John Henforth? I think it's John Henforth.
Yes, Henshaw, I think is his name.
Henshaw.
Henshaw, okay.
I think that
Okay.
would be great. And then they could see Brown Park, and we could tell them that the RFP is out and this is what we're going to do. And I think that would be help. I don't see there's anything we can lose by doing that.
Okay, that's a plan.
That's my recommendation.
Okay, that's a plan.
And
How do we feel about Michael? Mark?
Works.
I like it.
Okay. So we did touch down on the plan update and some movement is going there. I'd like to, before I move forward, we talked some time ago about some nautical flags for the railing up over the mural in front of the police station. And Mark, you have any comment on that?
Yeah, Tucker called me yesterday and asked me, we had talked about maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, there was flagpoles. And, we were just gonna put NORWICH, depending on how many flagpoles there are. But the flagpoles are gone.
Oh, they're not.
I just drove by today and was investigating, and they were up against the wall at the back of the police station where the cruisers go behind, and
Okay,
they were removed.
okay.
So, they're gone.
Are there slots in there?
I didn't go behind the
Okay.
police station. I
Okay.
couldn't take a ride. I just went to Brown Park to peruse it, and they're gone. So that's something we can look into adding. Maybe we just NORWICH, right? So we just get 7 flagpoles and put it up again, or go from there.
Okay. And also, as time goes by, and I did discuss this with Chief Daly about lighting for the wall, and maybe lights coming up over the wall so it'd be showing down on that mural
Get
itself.
some LED stuff,
Yeah, yeah.
some LED floods.
You can
Weren't there
double-
lights on the bottom, Tucker?
Sir?
I thought there was once lights down on the bottom on the city property shining up on it.
I
I think there were, but they haven't worked in,
Yeah,
Years.
there might have been some lights showing from the base, from the ground up. That's a 4-foot piece of land that the city owns between that mural and the
Right.
railroad track.
So it just may be cheaper to fix and replace what's existing.
But let's have a look at it and see what a couple of different ways of doing it. But I think Chief Daly has some notes. I think Prime Electric was involved in it at that time. And maybe we can bring those notes up and see where we are. And that would really stand up, make that whole area stand up very nicely. Okay, any other comments?
It's Michael Aliano. I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
Is it comments regarding that or new business, Tucker?
whatever you want.
However you want to bring them up, Michael.
So I'm just curious about this boat that sunk down river, whose responsibility it is. Like, I don't even think there's an oil boom around it, but I just don't want it to come back to
How long's
fall
it
on
been
us.
there?
I've been
It sank
seeing
a week and a half ago.
It's been there for many, many years, Michael.
No, the boat that sank a week and a half ago, Tucker. The
Oh,
one down,
You're talking about on Shipping Street.
correct.
Yeah, one that was tied up, against the vault up by where Doll Oil was,
Yeah,
tied up on those docks. It's not gone, Mike?
It was underwater as of Sunday. I was downriver.
Got it. Because I was working the day they got called in and Coast Guard was coming back in the morning and I figured it would be,
Yeah. I don't even think there's an oil boom around it.
there wasn't.
how big a boat?
36?
50.
Really?
How big?
I saw
It
36.
looks-
Was it bigger than that?
I thought it was bigger than that. Yeah, I have a picture of it underwater, but I only saw it above water. It came up for the storm. It's been there since the hurricane storm, and it it was there tied up there, and I believe the batteries died, and the bilge pump didn't kick in. But I'm not sure. But bottom line is, it's underwater, and there's no boom around it, and I certainly don't want to look at it for the next 100 years.
No, absolutely. Has the Coast Guard been aware of?
Oh, yeah, they came the next day.
Okay. So,
And if it's there, it's close right alongside the channel too, then.
It's right tied up.
It's on the channel, yeah.
I think it's one of those military boats. And I think the castles allow them to tie their boat up. And what that does, it allows the castles some protection from vandalism on the property. And so I can call Tom Castle and see if he's aware of it. If it's tied up on his property, he should be aware of it. I can do that tomorrow.
And secondly, Tucker, if you get dimensions of the proposed storyboard and what any ideas you have for putting on there, I'll have our graphic artist whip something up for the next harbor management meeting. And that way maybe we can vote on it.
Michael, that would be great.
Probably bottomed out.
Okay, so just get me your ideas and dimensions and I'll have him whip something up for the next meeting.
Okay, Michael.
Okay,
I will be in touch when we get back from Arizona.
Looks like a fishing
yeah,
boat.
appreciate it.
Okay, Michael, thank you very much for your contributions.
It's a fishing boat. It looks like.
Anytime.
It's not a military boat, it's a fishing boat.
Okay, any other comments? Do we have any citizen comments? Any citizens aboard anywhere on the phone?
Negative.
Okay. And anything other? Then I would move to motion to have the meeting adjourned.
Motion to adjourn by Mark Betancourt.
Second.
Seconded,
Seconded.
Michael Aliano.
Okay, we'll give it to Mike Aliano.
Aye.
Roll
Roll call.
roll call, yeah, we got to split it up between Zoom and here.
Aye.
So I by Tucker Braddock, Mark Sacuso,
Sure.
Mike Cloutier, yes. Myself, yes. Michael Aliano,
Yes.
John Salamone.
Yes.
We stand adjourned at 5:37 PM. Well, it just turned 5:38, excuse me.
Melinda Wilson, thank you very much. for all
Thanks,
of your-
Melinda.
Thank you, everybody.
Take care, everybody.
Good night. Good night.